Good afternoon, everyone. To those of you who are gathered here, but also those of you who are joining us online. I am Sherry Turner. I am the president of Hartford International University, and I'm very pleased to see all of you and to be in the room where such an important conversation will take place. Here at Hartford International University for Religion and Peace, our community is very unique. We are a community that believes that deep faith and deep respect for others can coexist. We are a community that believes in peace and that peace is possible. And we are a community that believes that transformation is possible. We know that one of the most effective vehicles for doing so is engaging in deep conversations with people who are very different from ourselves and people who share a different worldview or perspective. And so today's event, this session, is one that we believe has that power to transform and to build community through dialogue. I want to welcome each of you here, and I want to thank Dina Grant and others for bringing this opportunity to hear from women who've committed themselves, their lives, to building community, peace, and respect across difference. So thank you very much. Dina Grant.
Welcome everyone in the room and welcome everyone online. My name is Dina Grant and I serve as Dean and Vice President of Academic Affairs here at Hartford International University for Religion and Peace. At this moment, one of our speakers has not been able to get online. I believe she is coming in from the West Bank and there may be some difficulty with the Wi-Fi. So we'll hope and pray that she'll be able to come online. But we do gather here, both in person and online, to hear from these women, Ma'ayan Inon and Laila Al-Sheikh, who will share their stories of grief and loss. These women both lost immediate family members to the unrelenting tragedy of violence. These days, many of us barricade ourselves in defensiveness, anger, or even apathy. And these stances are very dangerous because they have the possibility of leaving no room for understanding and empathy. No one would fault these women if they were consumed by rage or a desire for vengeance. And yet, both of them have lowered their barricades enough to show up, to show understanding and compassion for the other. They're able to show compassion for people and teaching us to show compassion for people whom we might regard as the other, whom we might regard as an enemy, but who are a fellow human being. In this way, they model for us what we do here at Hartford International University for Religion and Peace. They embody religion and peace. Through their stories and through their choices, they model for us compassion for everyone. I'm grateful that they are both with us now. Wonderful. Very grateful that they are both with us today. I'm now, but before they begin, I'm going to introduce Phoebe Milliken, who is the director of our International Peace Building Program, who will lead us off with a communication agreement, which is something we do here often at HIU.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Dina said, I'm Phoebe Milliken. I direct the Peacebuilding Master's degree that we have here at HIU. And I promise you, we are almost to the speakers that you came here today to hear. We have one quick thing to do first. As Dina said, one of the foundational principles of peace building is investing energy in understanding others. And one of its foundational skills is that of listening. So our peace building practice here at HIU involves being very intentional about how we listen and how we demonstrate that we want to understand each other. And so I want to bring you all, those of you here in the room and those of you online, into this practice with us together. You'll see a listening pledge on the handout that's on your chairs, and I believe is available to those online as well. I'm going to read the first couple of lines, and when I get to the part where it says, I pledge, I ask you all to join with me so we read it aloud together. I will cue you as we go. Is everybody ready? All right, so just me to start. These conversations can be difficult. Our goal is to foster learning and empathy around diverse perspectives on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Now all of us, I pledge to listen fully, even when it's uncomfortable, to engage with views different from my own, treat speakers and fellow participants with respect, ask questions in a spirit of genuine curiosity, not confrontation. All right, thank you all. I encourage those of you in the room to use the note cards on your seat to write down any questions that arise for you. Those of you online can put questions in the Q&A. We will collect the note cards before we move on to Q&A after the speakers have shared their stories with us. And so now, my own, Lila, I turn it over to you. Thank you.
Hi, Laila. I'm so happy that you joined.
Hi,
Okay.
sorry
Hi.
for being late.
No, that's okay. I was nervous.
No, I'm sorry because there's no electricity in my village, but now thank God that we have it.
Yeah, actually here too, there was problem today, so it's good that we both here.
Yeah.
So would you like to start, or you would like me to start?
Well, you could start.
Okay. So I'll start to share a little bit of my story. I'll start by introducing my beloved parents, Yaakovi and Bilha Inon, which were at their home in Moshav Netiv HaSara, which is right across the border between the Gaza Strip and Israel. My father was a farmer, a very loving and a responsible man. He really loved the fields and to work every day. And he loved the community. He was taking leader positions in the Moshav, in the community that they live in. My mom was a teacher for art and an artist, very talented, very original. We grew up in a kibbutz near Gaza Strip called Nir Am, and then we are five siblings, and my parents were very simple people, very loving. They were very I would say they were loving people, and we grew up in an atmosphere that their home was open to many people that were different. There were Jewish religions, Jewish secular, Arab religious, Arab secular, Bedouins from the Negev, where we grew up, young, old, women, men, children. We grew up in a very open atmosphere. And on October 7, it was a holiday in Israel. And all the family, we were supposed to go and celebrate in their home in the Moshav. 2 days before the holiday, we changed the location and they came to Tel Aviv to my older sister's house. It was a really lovely evening that we shared together. We laughed a lot, telling stories. And like midnight, everyone went to their home, and we asked them maybe they will stay in Tel Aviv because it was already late. And my father always wanted to go back home to sleep in his bed. And he was saying, everything okay. It's not a long drive, it's an hour drive. So they went back home. At the Saturday morning, I was received a phone call, and it was very early in Saturday, so I didn't think to answer because I was asleep. And then I say to myself, wait, you better answer. And on the line was a friend of mine that told me something is happening in the south. It feels very bad. Check what's going on. And I immediately called my parents. There was no answer. I called my sister. There was no answer. So I thought, okay, maybe the wire went down, something. But my body actually was trembling inside. Without understanding logically, I felt something is going on. I was trying to reach them again and again with no success. And then I had a vision that I saw my father in front of me, and he was like standing and with his arms open, just like he was coming to hug me. And I heard I heard like in my inner voice that he's saying to me, we passed on in our own way. It was very, very quiet. And I looked at the time. It was 8:06 in the morning, very early. And I just knew, at that moment, I knew that they are dead. It was not, I couldn't comprehend what's going on. I didn't know what's going on. I just knew that this is the story for going to change my life. I called again my sibling, my brothers and my sister, and I told them, come to my house, bring stuff, bring clothes and food. And they said, why? I said, just come and we'll be together. And they did. And we were all together all this Saturday, and we started to see things or to hear things of what's going on. And we tried to reach our friends in the area. Slowly we started to understand that something is really, really awful going on. A lot of our friends and family and neighbors were held in in a horrible situation. Only that evening at around 5-6 o'clock, we received a phone call from the security man in the Moshav that told us that my parents' house is completely burnt down to the ground, and they don't see them, they can't find them. It was dark and a lot of missiles still coming. So they say we will come early morning in the first light to see what is going on. At that moment, we started to bring our voice, to cry, because till this moment we held something that maybe we'll hear from them, but that moment we allowed ourselves to cry. And since we were together, and since we knew and understand that they did not survive, we sat together and thought what we'll do now. And then we decided that we are going to announce Shiva, that we are sitting at the 7 days of mourning of the Jewish tradition. We are waiting for a formal announcement or to bury them. We just didn't see another option, we just wanted to be together. And we said, okay, we announcing the Shiva, and we at Sunday morning we announced it publicly, and people started to come to be with us, to comfort, but also to be together, because it was like the first Shiva of all this 7 October event. And many people came, like hundreds of people every day. Some of them were actually friends and neighbors that just came straight from their safe house in the area, around Gaza Strip. They were coming in a very bad, it was very hard to see them and to hear their stories. It was very, very hard. And we understood that in a way we have like a position of receiving those people and support them, not only grieving for our parents and friends, but also to support them and to help them to maybe ease a little bit. And that was like for 7 days. We also understood that we are going to, it's a life-changing event. It's like we understood that our life is going to change. We understood that we are going to be much more in public. And we sat together, the 5 siblings, and thought that we want to bring a voice that call not for revenge, because the legacy of my parents were to respect all people, and to try to make peace as much as we can, as hard as we can, wherever we can. So this was our first message to the world, that please don't revenge in our name. Let us be painful, let us grieve, let us reflect, let us cry. Let us breathe and understand what are we going through, but please don't revenge on our name. And this was the first message that we brought out. I do have to say that at the beginning, I was very traumatized. I felt it was very, very hard for me. It still is very hard for me to accept the violence and the cruelty that my parents had to suffer at the end of their lives, and many others of my people, my friends, my neighbors that suffered it. I cannot accept that violence and cruelty anywhere in the world, anywhere in the region. This is not something that I can understand in my being, you know, this kind of behavior. So this need to deal with this kind of violence is very hard, and the immediate or the first days and weeks after, I was really not so much in compassion. I was saying, okay, you know, there's no choice. If this is what's coming, then, you know, we cannot blame us for want to revenge. It's like, I don't want to revenge, but I can understand that. But as the days went by, and I had some experiences with friends of mine that are Arabs, that are Muslims, that, you know, they were very sympathetic with us. And they were really sorry for our loss because they knew also my parents. I came back to myself and to realize that I cannot forget the values and the way that my parents taught me how life should be. So gradually, I became more and more able to go out and see people as they are, and to understand that we need to change the future of this region. And the only way I can see now is by action, and the action of the parent circle is something that for me is very important now. And I'm so happy that I met Laila and other that I cherish now, close to my heart, like, it's like family. It's my new family, I say. So this is a very short description of this time for me. And Laila, I'm passing it to you.
Thank you, Mayan. And I heard your story many times, even from your sister Mar, but every time I hear it, it's so hard to believe what happened to your parents. And I'm really so sorry for your loss. Um, and I want to thank you all for having us today. And we are so happy to be with you, to share with you, and to speak to you about our stories and about our organization. My name is Leila Sheikh. I am from Bethlehem, from Palestine. My story started even before I was born. My family, they are originally from Bethlehem, but they went to Jordan because my father, he worked with UN and he was a teacher, and he tried to teach the children's in the refugees camps in Jordan. So after that, the war started in 1967, and during that war, the Israeli government took a decision to close the border, and they prevented all the Palestinians to return back. So because of that, my parents, they lost their citizenship as Palestinian and they become Jordanian. But I love Palestine from what I heard from my father. He have thousands of stories about Palestine, about his childhood, about his parents, his family, about his study. So for me, it's become a dream to return back and visit Palestine. And that dream became true in 1999 after I met my husband in Jordan, and I could return back to continue our marriage and to live here in Palestine. So for me, I was really so happy to return back to my roots, to visit all the places, all the people that my father speak about. And I thought the life here will be amazing. The first year, yeah, it was amazing. And after this year, we have our first daughter, and our happiness become much more because our family start to become bigger. But after 2 months of having her, the second uprising started. And for me, I was terrified all the time because that was the first time I lived in a situation like that. And I thought that will just be for a few days and it will be end. But unfortunately, every day become much worse and worse. During that time, I became pregnant. Another year, we have our second son. He was a boy. We named him Kusai. And our happiness become much more because our family become bigger. During that time, the Israeli government take another decision, prevented Palestinians who came from Arab countries to Palestine. They prevented them or us from having a Palestinian ID. And that means I can visit my family in Jordan, even in Palestine. Most of the time, I can go freely from place to place. Most of the time, I should stay at home. But I didn't care too much because I have my family, because I have my husband, be busy with them all the time. And time passed, and I'm so happy with my children, with my husband, but that happiness was ended 11th of April 2002, 4 o'clock in the morning, when my son, at that time he becomes 6 months old, woke up in very critical condition because at that night the Israeli soldiers came to my village and they threw tear gas. And because he was just 6 months old, his lungs couldn't handle that situation. So the treatment in our village wasn't that good at that time. So we tried to take him to a hospital inside Bethlehem because we live in a village between Jerusalem and between Bethlehem. But the Israeli soldiers told us that that Bethlehem is a military zone, we can't enter. So the next chance was to take him to the next city, which called Hebron. But again, they told us that the main road is closed. So the last chance was to take him, but we we could take him between village, and the road will be rough and long, but that was our last chance. After maybe half hour of an hour away, there is a third Israeli checkpoint. They stopped us. They tried to search the car, start to search the ID of my husband, my father-in-law. And we tried to tell them that our son should be in a hospital as soon as possible, but they didn't listen. They asked us to stay in the car. So I started to think to take a risk, and that risk will be if they find that I don't have a Palestinian ID, they maybe send me to Jordan or take me to jail, and I will never see my children again. But the only thing that I was thinking about at that time, how could I save my son? So I went to them, I started to talk to them, convince them to let us go, but they didn't listen and they asked me to stay in the car. Every minute was so important to save his life, but they stopped us more than 4 hours. So finally, when we reached the hospital and the doctor they came from me and they start to make exams for him, they said it's too late to save his life. And if he's still alive after 48 hours, he will be handicapped. So as a new mother, my family was in there. I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. As a mother, I should protect my son, but that was the first time I feel hopeless. I couldn't do anything to prevent all of that to happen to him. Few minutes later, they take him to the intensive care because his condition become much worse. Few hours later, they announce his death. I still remember when the doctor told us that I felt his word was like a bullet comes to my heart, smash it down for many pieces. I started to cry like crazy, didn't know what to do or what to say. In our house, after 5 minutes, the relatives, neighbors, friends, they start to come to offer their condolence. But for me, I wasn't care about any one of them. The only thing that I was care about and think about is my son. So I start to convince myself that when we return back home, I slept in the car and this is just a dream. And tomorrow morning, I will bring my son back and everything will be great. But unfortunately, that was the truth. That was maybe the longest, the hardest night I've ever had in my whole life. I was really so tired, so I slept maybe for 5 minutes. And I saw a white dove came and stand on my shoulder and say to me, Mama, don't cry. I'm so happy. I couldn't stop crying from that day until today. Every time I think about him, every time I speak about him, sometimes people think by time you will forget, but by time it's become deeper and deeper. At that night, I was filled with hatred and anger, but the most was for the Israelis. And for me, I was think that all of the Israelis responsible about his death. So I was really very angry, very sad. But at the same time, I didn't think to take revenge because revenge will never bring my son back. So my other decision was that I don't want to have any kind of relationship with any Israeli. So after this kind of tragedy, we try to live, but life is not the same. But we need to continue. So after like for 3 years after his death, my family, my husband, my friends start to convince me to have another children, and I refused for 3 years. And one day my doctor asked me, why didn't you want to have children? I say, why I will have them? Finally, I will lose them. Even if I don't want to, they will be part of this cycle of violence. But after After this 3 years, I have another boy, and I give him the same name, Qusay, because I don't want to forget all the details about my son. I didn't want to forget anything. Every time I call his name, every time I look to his eyes. Time passed, and after 16 years, I met one of my friends that I didn't saw for a long time. And we started to talk about family, about life. And then he started to talk to me about the parent circle and how he joined one of their programs. So I said to him, "Are we crazy? How could you talk to me about this? You know what happened to my son?" And he said, "Because of that, I want to talk to you about this organization. It's amazing organization. It's for bereaved family from both sides." And I stopped him because I didn't want to hear anything about these kind of things. And then he said to me, "I want to ask you a question. Why until now you didn't tell your other children about what happened to their brother?" I said, "Because I don't want them to be part of this cycle of violence, because maybe if they know, they'll start to think to take revenge. And I lost one of them, and I'm not ready to lose another one." And he said, "So maybe this will be a good chance for you, not just to protect your children, maybe other families." To be honest, I thought that he's crazy. He imagined that because that was the first time I heard about these kind of organization. So he kept calling me every 3 days, 4 days, talk about the parent circle. And every time he spoke about the organization, I take the phone like that because I didn't want to hear anything. But one day he invited me to a conference in Bethlehem for the parent circle and say, "Yeah, of course I will go there," just to make him stop talking about it. And that day in the morning, I remember I started to think, what kind of excuse that I should tell him, because I really didn't want to go there. And he called me and he said, "Get dressed. I'm waiting you in the car. I know that you tried to find excuse. You didn't want to go there." And I said, "Oh my God, he will never leave me alone. I should go there just to make him stop talking." So when we arrived, there were just Palestinian. I talked to them. But 5 minutes later, when the Israeli tried to enter that room, I felt there's something at my chest. I didn't want to be with them. I didn't want to see them. I tried to leave. And then I started to argue with my friend, and he said to me, "Please just sit down and listen to them." Since we were arguing about that, I saw something really amazed me. And for the first time, I saw something like that. The Palestinian, the Israeli, they talk to each other, they laugh. Some of them, they kiss each other or hug each other. And I said, "Oh my God, how they could do that? They are so crazy." And they look like a family, as Mayan said, not just as a friend. So I said to myself that you should sit and listen to know what's the thing that make them so close to each other like that. So when I heard the Palestinians spoke about their personal story, it's kind of stories that I know and I heard before. But to listen to the Israelis, bereaved families who spoke about how they lost their beloved ones, I was really touched and moved, because that was the first time I felt we share the same pain, we share the same tears, even if we had different circumstances, but we're still human. And nothing worse than losing a child or a family member. And no one could understand that pain unless someone be in the same situation. And I remember that was the first time I looked at them as a human like me, not as an enemy. So I decided to participate one of the project to learn much more about the Israeli, because as a Palestinian, I just met soldiers. And even when I met them, I don't have any time to talk to them or to have a conversation. We just ask about the ID, I show it to them, and that's it. So the main project in our organization called the Parallel Narrative Project, and this project is one of the most important projects, and I think everyone should learn how to do that. We met for 3 months, or 8 times. We have many activity. We even visit Yad Vashem Museum in Jerusalem to learn much more about the Holocaust. We even went to visit a Palestinian village was existed before 1948. We have two professors from both sides to speak about the history of the two nations. It's not about comparing. It's about to learning. It's about understanding, because we live in the same land and we know nothing about each other. So I remember the first thing they asked us in that project is to talk about something happened during the conflict affect our life. And that was the first time I spoke about what happened to my son. Even between me and my husband after his death, we didn't spoke about him. And that was so hard for me, even after 16 years. It was like, so sorry. He's my grandson. So that was so hard for me. I couldn't complete the story. I started to cry, and there's an Israeli woman who came forward, and she started to apologize. And she said, "Yeah, I didn't hurt you, but the people who hurt you from my own people, I'm a mother too. I could understand your pain. I could understand the word that you couldn't say." Sorry, just 1 minute. Second one. Sorry, he just woke up. No, that's a good one. So I forget what I'm talking about.
You said that one Israeli woman say
Yeah.
that.
So she said, "I'm a mother too. I could understand the word that even you couldn't say," and she came and hugged me. To be honest, that was the first time I felt someone really care about me, someone could understand me, even if I didn't say a word. From that day, I decided to continue on this project to learn much more about the Israeli, about their history, about their life, because we didn't have that just walls of cement. We have walls of hatred, anger, and knowing each other. Um, so after I finished that project, I decided to be a member in the forum. I started to give lectures inside Israel, Palestine, even travel around the world to spread the message of peace and reconciliation. And I thought that's it and everything will be great. But 4 years ago, I was in Jerusalem with other colleagues and with other people from other organizations. So after we spoke about our personal stories, I saw an Israeli man who cried much more than the others, and he looked at me immediately. Just 1 minute. So when he stand up and he started to talk about his personal story, he mentioned that he was a high officer in the army and he served in my area. And then he said that he prevented a Palestinian girl which have sick children from going to a hospital. I felt like someone slapped me in my face because in my whole life, I didn't think that I will meet one of those soldiers, and to be him in front of me, that was really hard. I didn't know what to do or what to say. I just started to cry. And then one of our friends asked us, both of us, to go outside to talk. Then he said to me, "Look, Layla, I know this is so important and this is so hard, but I should tell you that part of my story." And then he mentioned that after time, his son becomes sick. And when he tried to take him to a hospital, the guard stopped him because he had a few questions and he was in a hurry. And he said, "Just then I realized what I did to the Palestinian." He quit from the army. He refused to serve again. And they sent him to jail because of that. And after he released, he established another organization with ex-Palestinian prisoners called Combatant for Peace to end the occupation, to make work in the field, to like to make the life of Palestinian and Israel much easier, or try to make something. So I look at him and I said, "Look, Khen," his name is Khen Alon. "This is so hard for me to listen to your story, but at the same time, I want to thank you because you didn't hide that part of your story. And I want to thank you because you have that courage and that honesty to speak in front of me, and I could forgive you. Then I realized this is the reconciliation. It's so easy to speak about love and peace and all these lovely words, but sometimes we ask ourselves if we really meant every word we say or everything we did. And that day, I become really sure that everything I did and everything I say is true, and I want to continue. And that even give me power to continue even in these dark times that we have it after the 7th of October. Maybe not just you, all the people around the world don't know what happened in Israel and Gaza, but no one pay attention to what happened in the West Bank. I want to tell you a few things about the West Bank, where I live. Since the 7th of October until today, we're still under closure. So all the people who work inside Israel, they lost their jobs. So because of that, the economic situation now in the West Bank is the lowest point. We even didn't have shelters. Many rockets fell down in West Bank. We didn't know if from Hamas or from Iran, from Yemen, or even from the Israeli Iron Dome, because these rockets will never recognize if you are Palestinian or Israeli. And in the West Bank, it's a little bit different because we live much closer beside each other. Most of the time, the children, they couldn't go to school, and if they are lucky enough, they could go for one day. And the worst part of all of this is the settlers. They attack the Palestinian every day. They burn their houses, their cars. They attack them in the street. And now we have the season of picking olives. Most of the Palestinians, they couldn't go to their land. And even if they go, they could shoot them. They could come and beat them. And the problem there, the Israeli soldiers came and they encourage them sometimes and they protect them sometimes. And if the Palestinian try to defend himself, they could arrest him or even beat him. And one of the worst things even happened after the 7th of October, that now in the entrance of every village, every city, there's a gate. And this gate is different than a checkpoint, because on the checkpoint you could find a soldier, you could talk to him, maybe they listen, sometimes don't. But there is a limited time, you know, what they could open it or close it. But this gate, you don't know when they open it, you don't know when they close it. Even there's nobody to talk to, like if they close it and you've been late outside your house, you couldn't return back. If you have an urgent case, you can't cross. The situation is very complicated, but we believe this will end one day. We didn't know when, we didn't know how, but we can't sit aside and wait for our leaders to do something. We believe that we could do something because every soul is so precious, and God created us to love and to live, not to kill. Thank you so much for listening.
If you are able to stay for 10 more minutes for questions and answers, we encourage you to stay. If you have to sneak out right now, we fully understand, but we will be collecting cards and we will try to get in one or two questions with our speakers before we have to really say goodbye. People online can enter questions into the chat as well. All right, here's a question about legacy. It's both for Maayan and for Layla. So the question for Maayan is, how would you summarize the legacy your parents left behind for you? And for Layla, what legacy do you want to pass on to your children and grandchildren?
So I'm, it's a question that I'm going with every day, like asking them what do you say about that, and what do you say about this, how should I react according to your values? I'm talking with my parents every day. I think they taught us so many great things, but I think one of the most important is self-responsibility, and to be like a model, example, a standard for what we believe is true or is important. So each day I start my day with a conscious choice that I choose life, and in order to live good life as I can, I have to be sensitive, I have to be open-hearted, and I have to see myself inside, and like inside organism, like I am not disconnected from the outside. So I have to take care of myself, but I have to see the landscape that I'm in. I cannot be blind. I cannot be, I don't want to know. I don't want to hear. So it's very hard to stay open-hearted in that situation, that it's so painful and it's so complicated and it's so frightening, and I'm still in my own healing process. And like Lila said, time not always heals. Time sometimes make things even worse or painful, because the loss is becoming greater. But they gave us the knowingness that it's in our hand to choose and to do and to change. So I think those are the values that I'm reminding myself about every day. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Layla?
I always told them, and even remind myself, don't let the anger lead you and control you, because that anger will eat you alive from inside first and affect the way of how you deal with other people around you. Because even as a believer, as a Muslim believer, I believe in Quran, I believe in all the script. And there's a script said, you can't judge all the people because of mistake of one person. I know it, I believe in it, but I didn't work with it because I felt hatred and anger. So even that anger didn't let me deal with my children, with my friends, with my family member in the right way, because I always felt there's a wall always between me and them. But after I joined the parent circle, after I start to learn about the Israeli, I start to teach myself to have peace in my heart. Before you spoke to people about peace, I think you should have it in your heart. So this is what I always teach my children. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have another question that begins with thank you both for your courage, and anticipates that you've probably both encountered criticism for this work that you do, and wondering how you handle that criticism, what you do, what you say to people who call this normalization. And so I'll open this to whichever one of you would like to begin.
So maybe I will start, because once I was with another colleague called Robbie, and we've been in New York, and one of our friends in the forum, they've been terrified, and they sent a video for us. It's about Hezbollah. They start to talk about our work, and they called us terrorists. Oh, not terrorists, sorry, betrayed, and we make normalization with the Israelis. And I started to laugh, and they said, "What?" I said, "If Hezbollah start to talk about us, that means that we make a huge thing." So this is so funny. Sometimes you try to find a way to think about the things. Like our work is so important, and our message, it's not a local message, it's an international message to all the people around the world. If we are the people who suffer daily from this occupation, if we are the people who lost their beloved ones, could stand side by side, put our effort together to make a change, everything could be possible.
Thank you. Mayan, do you want to handle this one as well or no?
Yes, I would like to say that for me, what happened since I'm in this in this organization and in this understanding that there's no one I am waiting for. I have to do the work, you know. Each one of us has the responsibility to do the work wherever you live or wherever you are. And I gain so much from listening to Laila and to the other friends in the parent circle, and I get so much wisdom from them because they are teaching me how to stay clear about the path of like Laila said, this path you cannot talk about and live different. You have to be very synchronized within yourself and the outside, because there's no room for just say something and not mean it. So my way to deal criticism is to be in touch with Laila and with the other, because it's the thing that gives me the courage and the wisdom. And people can say whatever they want. Each one of us has his free own will and choice. So I do what I need to do.
Thank you. So we're going to do one more question here. And this one starts, Layla, you mentioned that you did not tell your children about your son's story because you did not want them to grow up to be part of the cycle of violence. What do both of you think, Mayan and Layla, is the best way to balance between memory and remembering that violence and the struggle for a better future for the next generations?
What I discover when I become member in the forum, that it's so easy to speak to other people about what happened to you, but it's much harder to speak to your own family. Like in the beginning, I didn't know how to explain that to my children, especially my oldest daughter, because she's the oldest. She knows the whole story about her brother, and she blamed me to be a member in the forum, and she asked me many times to quit. And I really didn't know how to do that in the beginning, to answer her question or to talk to her. But we have every year a ceremony called the Memorial Day. It's the day that we uh, stand side by side to remember our beloved ones who lost in this conflict from both sides. And as I said before, it's a way to send an international message to all people around the world. If we are the people who suffered and grieved, could stand side by side, everything could be possible. And that was online. We have 4 speakers every year. And 6 years ago, or 7 years ago, I was one of the speakers. So when I returned back home, I didn't know how her reaction will be. And I was really terrified. When I opened the door, she came forward and she said, "Just now I realized why you did this. And I'm so proud of you." She came and hugged me. And that was the most important point in my whole journey. If my children could understand that, everything will be easier for me. So sometimes I think you need a wisdom. For me, I pray to God many times. I ask Him to give me a wisdom to deal with this situation for me because it was very new. I was in anger for 16 years, and suddenly I discover that it wasn't the way that I want. And for the Palestinians, it's much harder because as they said, we swim against the tide because we are the people who are under occupation, and above all of that, we try to make peace with the other people from the other side, as they said. But we believe that God created us to love and to live. And when He created Adam, He said, "Go and have all this land for you and for your children." And we have the same Father. Why we will fight about piece of land? Finally, all of us will die one day. But I don't want my children to live the same life. I will tell you a short story about my son. He's 22, the oldest one. And he works in a company. He sometimes gets stuff from place to place. So he was in Hebron 2 months ago. And he called me 12 o'clock at afternoon. And he said, "Mom, there is a Palestinian Israel. They work together and they fight. And one of them stabbed the other. And they closed the road. And I stuck there. Don't be afraid." And I was really terrified. And I was just afraid because I know what will happen next. So every 10 minutes, I call him, ask him about what happened. So from 12 in the afternoon until 9 in the evening, he was stuck there. He called me once and he said, "Now they start to shoot tear gas." When he just said that, that reminded me of what happened to his brother. I start to pray, I start to cry because every time my phone was ring, I said, "Please, God, I don't want to have that message again to tell me you lost your son. I don't want to live a life like that. I don't want my children, my grandchildren to live this life. I want them to have a normal life." Some people sometimes ask us what kind of solution you think about. I don't care about the solution, but please find a way for us to live a normal life. This is what we think about. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan?
I'm sorry. Can you just ask again the question?
Sure. It's about balancing between memory and remembering this violence and the struggle for a better future for the next generation.
For me, I just every time I hear Laila, I'm so sorry for everything. It's so hard for me all to hear the stories, and I wish we were already in a better place, because for me there's no reason that the situation is like now. For me it's fresh. The loss is fresh, and the memory, I don't know what to say about it yet, because I feel my parents very close to me. I speak with them, mostly with my mom, because she actually, they never found her, so there was no DNA that that identified her. So for me, she is everywhere. So I live with her, like I'm speaking with her, and they are still with me very, very closely. But I think for me, what is important that they will be, it's hard for me to say about the victims. I know there are victims, but for me, victims is poor word, is not the right word. And I would prefer to say that if they are victims, they are victims of change. They are victims of peace, and not for hate and war. So for me, it's the job to make the what happened to them a reason to try harder to change the reality here. And the reality needs to change first to remember ourselves as humans, as human beings. Me and sometimes I think if I would dress up like Laila, and go to outside the street, I'm still the same. My heart is the same. It doesn't matter what I wear. It doesn't matter how I look. It doesn't matter how what language I speak, or the heart is what matters. And this is my way to remember my parents.
Thank you. It's now time for us to bring this experience to a close. And we've heard many things today that have touched us, and there's much to process with both our minds and our hearts. Leila and Mayan, thank you so much for your courage to share with each other and with us. And may that courage be contagious. For all of us to transition back into our ordinary Thursday, I'm going to ask everyone to take a deep breath in together. And so inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And we will say goodbye to Leila and Mayon, and thank you so much to them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for inviting us. Laila, I hope to see you soon.
Hope to see you soon too.
Be safe. Take care of yourself. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And as you gather your things to leave, please say peace, salam, shalom to those sitting near you. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.